Hi, I'm Emily Taylor from Collage Quilter. Today's tutorial is going to be all about making the snail in this Longwood quilt. So I want to point out there are two snails, one here, one down there in the quilt. It's a large quilt that we're making. Here's another snail on a different background that I whipped up, and I'm going to walk through the steps of making this today. To get started, let's just talk about the supplies that you need. So number one, you need the pattern, and in the pattern it has the template, the gray tone template. You will need to use those two templates and trace them on parchment paper. So parchment paper is the first supply that you need, or second after the pattern. I have it on my work surface, which is just a simple piece of foam core covered in felt, and tape or pinned to the parchment paper is pinned to this. And then I have also in my kit that I should have received, or if I want to purchase it, you can still purchase some on my website, collagequilter.com. Also comes the fabric. So this will be the background fabric for two snails as well as the collage fabric. You will get, if you purchase the kit separately, Steam-A-Seam. If you don't purchase the kit, and you're just part of the block of the month, you will need Steam-A-Seam, of course. And then you'll need a wand iron. I recommend the iron rest, scissors, my favorite, tweezers. All of these supplies are available on my website. So the other thing that you need, this is optional, but I have some scraps left over from some of the other blocks, scraps of the flower garden quilt, and I've used those just little teeny snippets in the quilt. So I think you might have fun playing with that, just fussy cutting some of those out. So let's open this up and I will prepare my fabric and then we'll get started on the collage. All right, so I have given you a very generous supply of fabric for collage, and it's so much that I'm actually going to cut it in half to there. So now what I'm going to do is just take half of that, just set that aside. I might need that for something else. And I can always prepare more fabric with Steam-A-Seam. So I'm just going to set that aside. And now I've got my Steam-A-Seam, a sheet of Steam-A-Seam. This is from a roll, and I recommend buying the roll. We sell them in the 3-yard rolls, boxes on my. So it doesn't really matter which paper you peel off, whether it's the grid or the plain paper, but I'm just going to peel this away and expose the sticky surface, and then take my fabric and line it up so that the reverse side of the fabric is against the sticky side, like this. And this makes sure that I use every square inch of my Steam-A-Seam, because Steam-A-Seam is expensive. Now, the other thing that I want to point out, I've pointed this out before. This is a good rule of thumb to keep in mind. If you want to expand your value spectrum, I could incorporate this as it is on this side, but then I can take that other piece of fabric that I've cut that's the same and go lighter, turning it over so that I treat this as the front side of the fabric. Just gives me more, it just increases the value spectrum that I have to use while I'm making the snail. I think I'm getting a little crooked here, but you get the idea. I love these purple pieces that I've selected. I love, love, love that kind of muddy purple that's in this assortment. I like to use purple as a shadow. It just is so much more rich than using gray or brown. It just adds some richness to your collage. So it's funny, I've been looking at my collages and I use a lot of purple, surprisingly enough, because it's a cool color and it's just perfect for shadows and okay. I think that is everything. Let me just double check. So you've got a real, like I said, a very, very nice assortment of fabric to use. Oh, here's another one too. This is this piece. I like the reverse side as well. So I'm also going to put it right here because that gives me another color, a lighter value. And let's see if there are any others. I think that's good. So this is the fabric then that we're going to use with our snail. And then I'm just going to trim it. I actually trim it up just like this. Trim off kind of these little edges. So this is a really quick way to prepare your fabric with Steam-A-Steam. This way there's very little waste in the Steam-A-Steam and your fabric is going to stay really tidy so that you can have the value sets that you need for the collage work. It's important to get your fabric selection and preparation done right so that it makes your collage work so much more enjoyable and easy to do. Okay, so I have my fabric prepared with the Steam-A-Steam. The only thing that you didn't see off camera was that once I cut it, I pressed it on this side so that the Steam-A-Steam is adhered to the fabric pieces. So now I'm ready to get started. And the other thing that's important that I always recommend is to keep the gray tone template nearby so that you can refer to it, because without that, you don't really have context for all of these drawings, all the lines. So this just helps me to see that. And I think it's kind of nice to have the photo from the pattern as well. So I'm going to start with the darkest part of the snail. And that would be right down here. So I'm just gonna dig in and start going. The one thing that I do wanna point out that's really important is it doesn't matter how the shape or how you cut your pieces, you can make them fit in your design. And I've got my wand iron here that I can begin to press these first pieces to make them stick to the parchment paper. The other thing that I want to point out is it's important to capture a transition between the dark and the light. So we've got the dark here and it transitions to the highlight up here. And there are several steps to get there. So think of that gradation that I laid out, and you can use them as transitions. So these will be kind of more of my transition pieces. So here we go. Just going to start collaging, and you can sit back and relax and watch how I do this. Another thing too, it's important to have a trash handy because you will be peeling off lots of pieces of paper and you want to stay tidy. So I believe this dark is about right here. Again, right now, I'm just pressing these first pieces, not to each other, but to the parchment paper. And I am going to begin to overlap the pieces because that's essential so that you can have a piece that peels off in one segment.
Okay, so that actually went lickety split. Didn't take any time at all to get this little baby done. My very best tip, though, before you press all of these pieces together, is to take your handy dandy phone. There's my kitty cat. And look at it through the camera. Take a picture. Make sure you're happy with it. The only thing, it's at this point that I can look at it very critically and say, I may change pieces here. Oh, and I can see I left a piece out. There's a hole. There's a pretty significant hole there. So I'm going to add something there. And I think I'm going to soften this transition from this darker purple to this one. And sometimes when you're looking at it on top of it, you just can't see those things. And so that's why I really like to look at it through my phone. So those are the things that I see. I'm going to fix those right now. So I can do that because nothing is adhered to the pieces around it. It's only they're temporarily stuck. And I just need another piece in there that's going to be kind of soften that transition. So maybe it's got to be lighter than that and darker than this. So let's see how this looks if I do this piece right here. Yeah, I think that will work. So I'm going to add that in and then fill in that hole, and everything else I think looks really great. So there we go. One more piece there. Let's do this one. Kind of like that. I'm going to trim it up just a tad. I think that works. Now, the other thing is there are tiny holes that I see, really tiny holes, and I don't even worry about those because once this whole piece is on top of the background fabric, then you might see a little bit of the background come through, and that makes it look great. So now let's just do one more photo. Yeah, okay. I think she's done. Done, da-da-dun, da-da-dun, dun, dun. Okay, let's get to the next step. Okay, so we have our sweet, sneaky little slimy snail finished. And these are the two pieces of fabric that you were provided. You have plenty of fabric. Make sure you wash and dry this so that it's pre-shrunk for this next step. So now I think I'm going to use the green and I'm going to lay it out. This is directional fabric, so pay attention to that if that's important to you. But I'm going to peel away the completed collage and you'll see how wonderful this is. All the pieces stick together and they have that temporary adhesive still on the back. And now I can create my little composition. So I'm going to just press the snail on here. And then remember I said it's kind of fun. You can leave it like this, of course, but you should have leftover fabric from Longwood, from the Longwood blocks that I've sent previously. And I'm just gonna do some fussy cutting and add some little elements to this cute little snail. You can use as much or as little as you want. It doesn't need a lot because obviously the block is quite small and the snail takes up a lot of the space. And it's kind of nice too using the green because I don't have to be super precise in my cuts because they're both on the same color. I really like the way this looks. It's kind of interesting. There, so cute. Let's get one more piece. So the interesting thing about as I work as a designer and collage artist, I realized that the collage part is really fun. It's not difficult. There's some practice makes perfect. There's some skill to it, but what's been really challenging to me lately that I find interesting is the design work that's involved in creating a pleasing composition. And that's where I think it's important to kind of include some of these elements and fill in the composition so there's not a ton of negative space. I may be killing myself trying to get that, so let's just trim that off. There we go. There's something about these skinny little tendrils that I love. Okay, so there's a few little pieces and we can peel the backing fabric off and make our little, oh no, my steam came off. All that effort, oh crap. I guess that means we're gonna peel this off. To cut that off. Shoot, doggone it. Oh well, it's still gonna be great. And then let's put that one down there. So be more careful than I was. make sure that that's why you press the steam-a-seam, or yeah, press the steam-a-seam onto the back so that it stays adhered. And if it's coming off, just go ahead and press it again. Oh, my iron is off. Whoops, I'm gonna send this with Amelia to finish. Press that real quick. Yeah, this one needs to be pressed too. So that's a good demonstration for why you need to press your fabric, or the steam-a-seam to the fabric, so that it doesn't come off when you peel the paper off, especially with these little intricate pieces. There we go. I think I want it right down here. And then I think I'll just have that one coming out right there. Make sure that your make sure that the pieces of the block that you have at least a 1/4 inch. So there's a 1/4 inch. So when this is pieced in my quilt, it won't snag that. It's not the end of the world if it does, but I would just advise to keep your composition within a 1/4 of an inch all the way around. So there we go. Now I'm going to take her over to my iron and press her. I'm going to steam this side, and then I will also steam that side. And then it's ready to put in our finished quilt, or if you're making multiple blocks, you can turn this into a little pillow or a little wall hanging. And so there we go. There's the snail tutorial. I hope this was helpful. If you'd like more information or would like to purchase this kit, you can find it at collagequilter.com.